allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Beth seemed healthy this morning, so you're good.
Gary, Brooks,
Yeah.
Priscilla, Gould,
And she doesn't have any little regrets.
Markham, Eustace,
Watch out for this.
O'Gala, Trainier,
Yes.
Van Dyne,
Here.
and Ventura, you have one. Thank you. Okay, under old business, we have the request for Faircom for a special use assessment for Braywood Mooring. Doing that this morning. Faircom.
It was tabled at the last meeting. I don't know if they're ready. I know I haven't heard anything from you as far as the special use assessment for Exelon.
We have that ready for this morning.
I think if anything, we'll probably
If not,
just
we'll
table
take one on
it.
the table.
So I'll move it off table.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so it's now off the table. Do we need to move it back?
Yep. Are they not here then?
No, they're not ready.
Motion to put it back on the table.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the new business. Before we bring up Strand, our solar presentation, our clerk is here. Lauren, oh, there you are. Yes, speak to polling as it relates to, polling, voting as it relates to COV 19, sorry.
Where do you want us?
Podium, please.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Thank you.
So Chuck with me too. Chuck's actually been fielding most of the phone calls we've been receiving about the coronavirus. So obviously we have been hearing a lot about it. We've had some election judges call. At this point, we've had about 30 election judges cancel due to the coronavirus, which is actually not too bad. We have sent out communication to our election judges. We sent that email out earlier this week, just letting them know what we're doing and some suggestions that have been provided by our health department. And it's pretty much what everybody's been hearing. We are sending out disinfectant wipes and hand sanitizers on Saturday when the judges come to pick up their supplies. They will all have the canister of disinfectant wipes and hand sanitizer in their supply bags. The last couple days, we have received phone calls from, I think it's 4 retirement facilities, and we are changing their polling places. So that is a little bit of a bigger deal. So we have relocated 4. Joshua Arms is on Rowell. We're moving that polling place to Knoll Park. Willow Falls and Crest Hill, we're moving that polling place to the city of Crest Hill. St. James Wellness Center in Crete, we're moving to the Crete Fire Station. And then we just heard from the Timbers in Shorewood this morning, so we are still working on a new location for their polling place. So those places are actual like retirement communities. Obviously, we're worried about the the elderly that do live in there. St. James is an actual nursing home, so certainly willing to relocate those places. However, we do need to notify all of the residents that go and vote there. So we are sending letters by mail today to all of the residents that live in those precincts to let them know where their new polling location will be. We'll have signage on the door. I'm hoping to have actual like signs made so they can be out on the property, so people don't have to get out of the car. Trying to think of what else. Yes, Jackie.
Any social media activity to promote that?
So we will be using every effort, and we're hoping to talk to the media, social media. We're hoping that, like we talked to, Steve Balich, he has a, a page to, let his residents, his, whoever he can reach know. We want to let you all know if, any of these places fall into your areas, or to just help spread the word, or if you're getting phone calls from constituents, to let them know. They can, certainly call us. They should be receiving a letter in the mail to let them know that their polling place is going to change. Not sure what else.
We're preparing a press release. We'll send out a press release to this afternoon. It should be noted that these are all very recent developments. All of them started yesterday afternoon, and are continued into the morning. So these are very quick changes that we've made on our part. We're ready to begin reaching out now that we've got actual places for these polling places to land. Now we'll begin notifying people where those new locations are. We'll reach out to the various party chairs and party officials as well, and make sure that they're aware of these changes also.
Question here. Jim?
So, we do our voting, frankly, Township. And so our folks go out there the last couple of weeks. And they're sanitizing as much as they can. But one of the things that struck me, and I had to ask Ron, so we're sanitizing the pens as much as we can. It would have been nice probably if we could just get a single use, those small pencils, inexpensive pens, and probably keep the pen and move on. I'm just throwing it out, maybe a little late now, but to do that. But that's the one area that's a little tough, you sanitize the pen every time somebody uses it. So just kind of maybe saying it would have been nice, maybe I just thought of it myself, but it would be some inexpensive single use, some keep the pencils. Keep the pencil.
Obviously, we're following all the directives of public health officials, and we're kind of trying to make sure that we're covering all the bases as we go along.
And the other thing is going to the voting booths. We literally have somebody, like every 3-4 uses, they have to wipe it down.
Yeah, we're instructing the election judges. We have instructed them to wipe down the tables, all the spaces, the voting booths as often as they can. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're encouraging them to do. I think we'll have some communication with our field techs as well, who kind of oversee to help with that, help communicate with the voters as far as like, how many people are in the room at a time, and just things like that. So we're really taking every precaution that we can.
Amanda?
I just wanted
Right.
to ask if, are you going to be putting this on your webpage, the Will County Clerk, we can tell folks to go to that, it'll be right on the landing page?
We sure will.
Okay, that'll be perfect.
Yep, we sure will.
Two quick questions that I've received from constituents, and I sent this to Chuck this morning, so you might have already heard this, but one constituent said that she's heard that other counties are instructing election judges to only allow so many people inside a polling place at a time, and to instruct people in line to sit 2 feet apart. My response to her was, I think that's probably up to individuals, but I just want to get an official response from you, is my first question.
I think, like I said, we're going to, instruct the election judges as much as we can to, keep everything clean, to, do the best they can to let people know, but have some space, but no, we haven't sent any formal communication to them. All of our election judges come to pick up supplies on Saturday this week, so we will be talking to them about a lot of these things as well.
The second question I've received, and I just want to, again, have you answer it rather than me speculating. Is there any possibility of the election being delayed right now?
So we've not heard that. But right now there's going to be voting and there's going to be an election. We did hear that the governor talked about extending vote by mail. However, the state board said no.
Okay.
So today is still the last day to do vote by mail. We do have 2 nursing homes that vote tomorrow. And we are not going to go in there. They called and said if we could give them vote by mail ballots, that would be better. So we did send them vote by mail ballots.
And finally, I just want to say thank you to you guys. I can only imagine that this is adding more stress to an already stressful situation, and thank you for being on top of it and being proactive.
Well, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Steve?
So you had said that 30 election judges had already canceled. Is there a plan B if more election judges cancel before Tuesday?
So this is actually pretty normal. When we assign the election judges, our election judge team expects, there's always cancellations. People get their reminder letter and they're like, oh, I don't want to do it, or something came up or they forgot. So this is obviously a little bit heavier, but right now, we just talked to Mary Kay, who handles the election judges before we came up. All of the precincts are filled as they should be with the correct ratios, and so we are still looking good.
Good.
So, I mean, we have a pool of people that we can still call, we move them around, and it's quite the process, but we are good.
Good job.
I just want to say thanks for staying on top of this and for the update. I know Willow Walk is in my precinct, in my district, so I will let the police know, I see Ambrook as well.
Please do.
Do a little announcement of the services I sent.
Yeah, Mayor Solomon was great with letting us use the building, so, yeah.
Yeah, I have,
Steve? There's a list. Yeah, wait, your turn, please. Judy?
I thought she,
I'm not going to forget you.
Thanks. Will we be getting a press release sent to our email?
We can,
Yep.
yeah, we can send it to, we'll send it to the full county board.
I think we typically send them out countywide, so you'll be getting them once they're prepared.
All right, thank you.
Steve?
yeah, when I talked to you, you know, I got it all straight, and I straightened the people that called me out, and I told them exactly what you said.
Thank you.
You know, so, great job. But now if we have Victorian Village and Marion Village, if they call and want to get it switched,
Marion Village already has called, and they are located, I believe, in their clubhouse, if I'm not mistaken. So they're in a separate building
so they're okay.
entirely. So they're okay. They've called and they were asking more of just a concern, just what steps are we taking as far as our election judges and pulling in place sanitation is concerned.
And so I didn't get called by the nursing homes, I got called by people. So,
Yeah.
everybody's nervous, so,
Yep.
but anyway, just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, so right now it's still just a case by case. We've taken phone calls from people that have decided, they're in a separate location, so they're fine to stay. But obviously these retirement communities and the nursing home, we are very much willing to relocate.
Jackie?
I too thank you for the great response that you've been giving to all of our questions. But I didn't feel like Rachel's question was quite answered. It was good to know that the 30 that have canceled is kind of a normal number. But the president just gave his speech last night, and prior to last night, many events were still going on, even though we were already told to limit events. Just this morning, I've had several cancellations for various activities that I was to attend tomorrow and Saturday. And I suspect that the fear is going to grow. And so my question is, have you thought about, is there a plan for if judges do cancel, do become no-shows on Tuesday morning?
That happens. We literally.
No, I mean like a large number, not just 20%, 50%, 75%. I know we don't want to see that happen.
So
I get that.
And we do actually call and we get an actual voice, like a physical voice on the phone to confirm that these judges will be there. On Saturday, when they come to pick up their supplies, I assume that that's when we will really see, you know what I mean, and hear from people if they don't show up, if they want to, if they're not going to be there that morning. We physically reach them by phone. We do still have, people that we can pull from, so we will hopefully be okay. But
I mean, every day it's more and more cancellations, and I'm just,
We have a database of people that we can pull from, and
We
we'll
do.
pull from
And it's
it.
not
And we
just
have
it's
a
everywhere.
right.
we have a coordinator who works magic with this as well. So we're going to have,
We have a large database of people. They may have not worked an election before, but they've been trained. I mean, so there's a whole, like Chuck said, it's magic the way she does it. She puts experienced judges with not experienced judges, but we do have a large database of people that we can pull from. So.
And then the other thing that is out there is a hotline for those of you who have further concerns. And that hotline number, with your disposable pencils, is 800-889-3931.
Who's
That's
office?
800-889-3931. That's the COVID-19 hotline. And that number was given to us by Sue Olenek from the Health Department. So if people have further concerns, you can call 800-889-3931. And I will just add further that the judicial branch and the sheriff's office have also taken precautions and have arranged to make sure that everybody is safe in their areas, no matter how high or how low the traffic is. In addition, the HR department has put out a memorandum to all employees, and that will go to everybody, talking about what our game plan is in the event that there is further, first of all, advising to follow the CDC guidelines, which is what our health department operates on, and then what to do in the case that things worsen. And further to that, and along with Chuck's comment about press release, Nick Palmer, who will be here a little later, and I will be talking together. We're on the phone with Larry, of course, and we will put together a press release that will go out to everybody, reminding people of what the guidelines are, what our plan B will be, and we haven't decided that yet before you ask, but what the plan B will be if we should need to close the building at all, how we will manage that, so people will have all the information as it develops. Other questions?
All right, thank you everybody for your help too in getting the message out. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll go into the new business, starting out with Strand Solar feasibility presentation.
No.
Christine, do you like? Do you have a PowerPoint?
Yeah, it's video. Is there any way like it connects on here?
I think you would have to have somebody else.
There.
But they have a clicker.
Yeah, they have. That's right.
Just say next slide.
No, I have. Hi everyone, my name is Christina Snitko. I'm the Energy and Conservation Specialist for Will County.
Microphone.
You're good.
It's on? Sorry. We good? Okay. Like I said, my name is Christina Snitko. I'm the Energy and Conservation Specialist for Will County. Contrary to how young I am, I can't work technology, so bear with me. So I apologize. So for the past almost year, starting of spring of 2019, we were doing feasibility studies for solar for some of the Will County buildings. We wanted to see if solar was a good option, whether we could do it, if we could, how much would it cost, how much would it offset our energy, and all those details. So This is our final presentation. We assessed 7 buildings. In the past, we have assessed the ADF facilities, so the Adult Detention Center, River Valley Justice Center, Sunny Hill, and then the parcel at River Valley Justice Center. So what we did was we met with the facility maintenance people for each building that we chose to assess. We did structural analyses and electrical analyses and saw what we could do. After that, Sean and his team came out, they assessed the building, they did drawings, and then when they came back, they gave us a report to see what the studies were. So in the past, we already presented ADF, we presented River Valley Justice Center and Sunny Hill. So if you want data or statistics, just let me know and I'll send them over. But what Sean is here to present is the buildings that the last 3 buildings that we assessed, which was the Department of Transportation in Joliet, the Department of Transportation in Crest Hill, and the Will County Public Safety Complex. So, as you can see at the top, that's all the buildings that we've assessed, and then the bottom are going to be some of the new ones that we haven't assessed yet. So, we're not take it over to Sean.
I thank everybody. So the final group of sites, as Chris mentioned, the Public Safety Complex, the SWAT building, DOT Joliet campus, and the DOT Crest Hill campus. For the DOT Joliet campus, we have the administration building, the maintenance building, and then also a ground-mounted system. With the exception of the DOT Crest Hill campus, each facility has a new flat membrane roof. And each during those warranties will not be affected by installing a solar PV system. The DOT Crest Hill facility has a sloped metal roof, which isn't standing seam, so that gets into the installation area, which I'll talk about. But that roof is also in good condition. The system sizes for these range from 35 kWdc, pretty small, to about 100 kWdc. These facilities are not included in the county's electrical energy procurement contract, so they have a higher electricity rate. Because of that, we're seeing a little better payback on each of the sites as compared to the last 2 groups. We've seen about 8 to 7 years, up to 11, where the past groups were closer to the 13, 14-year range. So the public safety complex and the SWAT building have capacity for larger systems than included in the summary, but due to electrical codes and some of the bill codes, we had to limit those sizes. So if upgrades are made, it's a new building, but if capacity expands in the electrical distribution system, there is space for those to increase. Because of the space available at the DOT facilities and the low energy usage, the systems at those facilities were reduced in the size that they could have been to meet ComEd's requirements for net metering. So then if the energy usage at any of those buildings increases, those system sizes can be increased as well to meet that extra usage. So those facilities are actually 100% annual offset of energy usage. And an effort's been underway to change out all the lighting at the DOT facilities to LED. And obviously the public safety complex and the SWAT building are new, so they're all LED. So there's not a whole lot of efficiency projects that are going to reduce the usage at any of these sites. And another benefit of installing a PD system at DOT Joliet is that the electrical distribution equipment at the facility is original, so it's past its expected life of 35 or so years. And because of how simple the electrical distribution system is at those facilities, the cost of replacing equipment could easily be included in a PV project, so you can be able to save some money by including that work that would be in 2 separate projects into one project. So here's a visualization of the public safety complex in DOT Joliet. So you can see at the top left, there's a little bit of space left on the public safety complex. I think this will give you about a 35% annual energy usage offset. And then the SWAT building, which was really limited by the electrical distribution infrastructure. There's a lot of space there if that's ever changed in the future. At DOT Joliet, there's several different configurations that would be feasible. So we just presented two. One would be to do the entire offset using just the maintenance facility. There's plenty of space on the roof there. And the other one is using the admin building and the ground-mounted system, which the county staff kind of wanted because of the high visibility to the public. And also ground-mounted systems tend to have a slightly higher production efficiency than building mounted. So here's DOT Crest Hill. There's two buildings there. We didn't evaluate the one on the right, which is a cold storage building, because of its orientation and just the fact that we could get the offset we were looking for using the main building. So that main building does, as I said, have just a sloped metal roof. So the fasteners that are used to connect the PV racking to that roof actually penetrate the roof, but they are considered watertight. So I don't know that there's any plans in the future, near future, to replace that roof, but in the future, a standing seam roof would be beneficial if we were thinking about installing a PV system. And then one other thing to note is there also is plenty of space to the right of these facilities if a ground-mounted system is desired. So this is just a summary of all of the sites we looked at. I don't know if I can see it there, but so systems range from 35 kW DC up to 1.75 megawatts DC, which was the River Valley Justice Center vacant parcel. The estimated production efficiency for the majority of the sites is favorable due to their orientation. So we're able to get a north-south orientation on just about every facility. And that higher efficiency generally leads to a more favorable payback. Range of construction cost is about $80,000 for the small site, up to $3.3 million for the River Valley Justice Center vacant parcel, which was a lot bigger. But these could be reduced slightly by combining multiple sites into one bid event, so you usually get some economies of scale there. The estimated paybacks are generally grouped by facilities that are included in the low cost of procured energy and other sites that are just through ComEd all the energy. If these sites were added to that agreement, then the paybacks would generally be increased kind of in line with the other sites that are part of the agreement. For sites with less than 20-year payback, which was all but one site, which was the River Valley Justice Center group, the range net cash gained over 20 years is about $50,000 for the smallest site to about $1.5 million for the largest. The majority of sites we saw generating a net of about $200,000 to $500,000 in 20 years. So just to highlight a couple sites, each site we reviewed was viable, feasible for solar PV. The two that we and Christine felt kind of were the most worthy of highlighting were the due to the shortest payback and higher electricity costs was DOT Joliet, so it'd be good, if you're looking to do smaller systems to start out. It's got high visibility to the public. You're able to wrap in another project to avoid additional costs with something that is going to be needed to be done in the future. And then with the largest 20-year cash return due to its size, the River Valley Justice Center vacant parcel was kind of the most ideal large system, although it has the highest upfront cost. So then we'll move back to Christina to talk about next steps.
So the final steps now is we see what we can, generate what the cost would be for each building if we install solar. So I think the next important question would be how are we going to fund it if we choose to proceed forward, and what buildings should we actually proceed to move forward if we would like to. There's many different incentives in Illinois due to wanting more clean energy. So the Illinois Disposable Block Program currently is offering money, but it's filling up really fast. And that can reduce some of the upfront costs that we could pay, as well as through ComEd, through the ComEd program as well.
Can you double dip on those?
You can, yeah, you can do both.
Okay, are you finished, Christina? Okay, so we had Jackie first.
Yeah, that was actually part of my question, so I'm glad I waited a little bit. But you mentioned on the lowest price building was 80 or 88,000 to install, but then you talked about a $50,000 profit. So you're talking after we pay for everything, we would still make 50,000.
Yeah, so you paid back the 80 and then after 20 years.
Okay, just wanted to be clear that that was real profit after everything was
Yep,
paid
yes,
for.
no, it's not, you're still negative 30.
Yeah, not just saving, well, not savings, but, and then we are eligible for these rebates, whatever you want to call them, as
The
records.
records, yep.
I just had my system installed. They did penetrate my roof, and in one of the installed places, they forgot to put the stuff on there.
Okay.
So here comes to fix my kitchen ceiling on Monday.
That's great.
It really got my husband quite angry, made me a little nervous, because, you know, if they make a mistake at the beginning,
Right.
and the roof is leaking, and it could be leaking somewhere else, and I just don't know it yet. And then I worried about, like, how long does that caulking or sealant, whatever it is that they put on there last, you know, is it gonna cause a problem to the roof long-term? We had a brand-new roof put on the house, just like months before they installed. So, yeah, there's like a little worry, kind of nagging, a little tickling.
The contractor can do it.
Yeah, so,
And then for the flat roofs, remember, there's no penetration from those roofs, so it just sits on top, yeah, it'd be a ballasted.
so are those like the typical flat roofs where it's like got a membrane and
Yep.
then there's like insulation underneath?
Yep.
Okay, very good. And yeah, I think that was my only question, just mainly the rebate part. I just figured since we're a government entity, we might not have been eligible. I mean,
You are
if
for-
we don't
for
buy
the-
our power in the normal fashion, so I don't know that we're contributing to the pot of money that's going to offset all this, you know, do you
Yeah,
understand
so
what I'm
like
saying?
Federal tax credits usually you're not eligible for, but the adjustable block program you are.
And for ComEd, we are because we pay ComEd.
And even with that agreement,
Okay,
that Constellation agreement, you are still paying ComEd too.
thank you. Okay.
I just had a question in the comment. So first, I heard you say that these buildings that we just analyzed are not part of our electric constellation agreement, so we're not getting the cheapest rate?
Correct.
Why is that? Why aren't they part of our agreement for county buildings?
Well, I know that Sunny Hill, River Valley, the adult detention facility, not the DOTs, those three buildings, we do get our bills from Constellation. But I know the DOTs, we do not. I don't know why that is. I think that's just how.
We need to figure that out.
I-
If we don't put any solar on, we need to be on that
Yeah.
rate for all of our buildings.
But the biggest ones, the River Valley, ADF, and Sunny Hill, those are part of Constellation.
Dean
'Cause
tell us that, why we're not on that? Dean?
Does anybody know?
Michael is actually here, he's our energy broker, and we can determine how we buy, where we buy from. Some are eligible for purchase.
Yeah, those specific buildings, I have to go back and look through the notes that Sam had shared with me when we did the initial RFPs, which accounts were included. So there may have been a specific reason why those were not a part of the RFP Constellation. So I'll get back to you on
All right,
that.
so we need to find that out.
So we can add it
We
to.
need to add that regardless of what we do about solar panels, because we need to have that better rate. And if we are going to get that better rate, we need to run these again, just so we see the saving in it.
Yeah.
But my comment is that and we had talked when Joel and Dave and Dean, we all sat down about what money was available to do the next progression of these things. I think we need to determine how much money we have. When we get incentives, then we can do the next group. But I do think we need to just take a look at the low-hanging fruit. I mean, the lower the pay, the shorter the payback period, the faster we should get into those right now. Because if it's a longer payback, there may be developments in panels as well that up the game. Now, the incentives could change, but that doesn't mean we can't do an 11-year or a 13-year payback loan, but the low-hanging fruit at 7 years, we should be getting those right now, especially if the roof's new, because if we wait 4 or 5 years and the roof gets older, then we got other issues to deal with. But I think we need to prioritize by low-hanging fruit, and then we definitely need to switch everything we can to Constellation's good numbers that we're getting right now.
There must have been some reason, I don't remember exactly which accounts, why they were only allocated, but there was some areas where you can't do that. I don't know if they're just not part of the program or not. I remember Sam telling me that. But I didn't handle it.
Once we figure that out,
Yeah.
we need to rerun this
Yeah.
because a
Correct.
7-year one could wind up being a 10-year one because it's got the good rate, and the one that has the bad rate will stay at maybe 8 years. So
Well,
we have to rescribe to her.
our rates right now are so low on a lot of these buildings that in the past, many years ago, we did try to do a PPA, which basically is another way to get, buy back your home power at a lower rate. But our rates, when they looked at them, are so low, PPAs don't make any sense. So in other words, you can let the company get the tax credits and then you get the benefit back on the lower rate.
Right.
But it doesn't benefit us. So these are all, if we buy the panels outright, we're the owner of the panels.
Right.
So
Understand.
that's what they studied, not PPAs.
No, I understand.
Those rates were already too low. to
Yeah,
even
as I said, I think we need to do that portion first, because that changes this dynamic, and then we need to prioritize from there and say, okay, this one went to a 10-year, but this one's at a 7-year. Let's do the 7-year first and see how the money flows from rebates so we get back to the next one, which was our plan when we talked about it originally.
Should we bring like the low-hanging fruit ones to, say, Finance Committee for your consideration, just to review them more in depth? And say, do you want to plan for next year's budget or whenever?
Like, how do you want us to go?
Yeah, we
forward?
just need to know, have some direction on what you think is best.
We can do that, and if you would, at that time, please, Dean, also bring the information about how we ended up not having some of the buildings in and some out. There may be perfectly valid reasons. So you can have that information as well as the picture of what it would be at the Finance Committee meeting.
Yeah.
Mr. Harrison, do you have that on your committee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, yes.
Okay, that would be good. Thanks.
Are there any other questions?
Other questions for Christine and Sean? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And following right behind them is Michael English with the results for renewable energy.
Yeah, if you might need to grab it. I don't know. No.
It may be on the agenda.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So, the Will County Land Use Department, DCE's team, had tasked us with exploring additional renewable electricity purchase options. In tandem with that, we also identified an opportunity, given the current market commodities for natural gas, to reduce future natural gas costs for the county. So there's going to be two pieces to this presentation, and perhaps at the end of it, they're not mutually exclusive, but you can look at it as a means of taking money from the lower gas costs to, for the investment to purchase additional renewable energy or just act independently of one another. So this will cover the quick synopsis of the current natural gas market, the opportunity that is in front of the county to reduce the cost for the facilities in the current agreement. And then we'll go through some of the different renewable energy purchase options outside of what Christina had just talked about, and obviously the associated benefits with potentially purchasing additional renewable electricity, the marketability of those options, and then just what this means at the end of the day in summary. So currently, natural gas prices are trading near multi-year lows. Actually, this past week hit all-time lows for calendar years 21, 22, 23, and 24. In large part, just due to how mild this winter has been across most of the U.S. That coupled with record natural gas production, a lot of oil and gas producers have just been continuing to produce at current levels. They haven't slowed down, although they are planning to moving forward in future years. So the expectation is sometime in the next 12 to 18 months, you'll start to see a supply cutback based on the low price environment. But given the current supply and demand picture, we're at all-time lows for forward natural gas. So just given that, we started to do an RFP with suppliers in the marketplace and evaluate what potential lower cost options would be available for the county. This just kind of gives you a depiction as to what's going on with forward natural gas market. This is NYMEX natural gas. NYMEX is the national benchmark contract for wholesale natural gas prices. And as you can see, currently trading in the 0.1 percentile, meaning that prices have really never been lower than they are currently for these calendar years. And the minimum price was, like I said, just set recently in the past couple of weeks. So this is the results of the RFP we did for the county's facilities. These are all the accounts that are currently on the Vanguard Energy natural gas agreement. And so this is for a July 2021 start date when the current contract expires. We highlighted Direct Energy as they were the most competitive supplier. This would have the same terms and conditions that are currently in place with Vanguard. So you have 45-day payment terms and 100% swing clause, meaning the county facilities can use as little or as much natural gas as needed. The price is always the same. Just extrapolating out, the prices are a little more expensive the farther out you go, just marginally, but you're looking at anywhere between 13 to an 8.5% cost reduction, depending on the term that you consider. Annualized, that's about anywhere from $28,000 to $18,000 per year in cost reduction. So, any questions so far? So that's the natural gas side of things. We'll come back to that towards the end. So the initial reason for coming in today was to talk about additional options for the county to consider more green energy as part of what's currently in place with Constellation. And so there's just a few options. Obviously, don't need to belabor these, but I think it's important that we talk about what the options are. So we'll talk about renewable energy purchase options such as Green E certified RECs. RECs are renewable energy certificates. They represent an amount of energy that's produced from green resources, and there's a separate price for those RECs, similar to what Christina was sharing about the SRECs. Those are solar-specific renewable energy certificates. So the county can purchase these RECs in the marketplace, and it gives you the marketability and the environmental credit of saying you're sourcing more green energy into the grid. So we'll talk about those, and then if you want to do something specific, say a hydro asset, you can do that as well. Those are more expensive. And then on-site, off-site solar, won't really go into that too much detail since you just heard about that. And then obviously the benefits to the county, media and marketing opportunities as well. So just kind of giving you an idea as to how this would impact the actual facilities themselves. When you're purchasing renewable energy certificates or Green E certified RECs, obviously you get to claim the environmental benefits for that purchase. It doesn't have any cost reductions for the facilities. It's it would actually increase the cost marginally that you pay at the end of the day. There's no upfront costs associated with it. You're just essentially signing a contract with the provider that obligates that provider to source green energy on your behalf into the grid, and there's no maintenance fees. So very low cost, low investment opportunity to buy additional green energy. And obviously you can extrapolate out based on the more specific you get and if you're doing on-site or off-site. So the definition of a REC is pretty straightforward, but essentially they're a traded certificate. They have a value in the marketplace. One REC equals 1 megawatt hour or 1 million kilowatt hours of energy. And it can be from a myriad of resources that are defined by the governing body, Green E. And so it could be wind energy, solar, hydro sometimes counts depending on the project itself and the environmental impact studies. So it's sourcing green energy into the marketplace that for the off-taker, whoever's purchasing that. And then you can do green power, which is what we did with the Constellation agreement, where you obligated Constellation to source 50% of your energy in that contract from renewable resources. So think about these as two independent ideas, where the green power option is what we did earlier, with Constellation, and now we're talking about buying RECs for that remaining 50%. So the green certified REC agreements, I covered some of this earlier, but again, they can be customizable. You can do short-term arrangements, you can do long-term arrangements, you can specify the renewable resource if you want to. The more specific you get, the more expensive they potentially become. You can do local or national projects. So again, it just depends on what the nuances are that the county's trying to accomplish or market. And then just talking about the contract itself, it's obviously a very popular product. A lot of Fortune 500 companies, municipalities, government organizations will buy RECs as a means to achieve their ESG scores, also to meet sustainability or renewable targets. So it's a very viable market, very liquid, a lot of participants. And then if you wanted to do an asset-specific program, the reason I mention this is we're starting to see this become more popular. Navy Pier, for example, is a client of ours, and they're considering doing a hydro specific renewable energy credit or certificate purchase with a hydro plant in Quebec, where they get to claim the environmental benefits of helping to source that hydro facility. Granted, it's 1,000 miles away, but they are taking the other side of that transaction, and they get to market that power as they're being good stewards to the grid and sourcing that green energy. So the county can do things like that if you wanted. We can always explore those types of opportunities, but they do become more expensive, more customized you get. And then on-site solar, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. Obviously, there's a capital investment in play. You have to take into consideration maintenance costs, all the other things that are factored in when installing solar on-site or off-site. So obviously, if there's any questions, we can talk about that in more detail. As far as the marketability of RECs, obviously there's the environmental benefit associated with sourcing more green energy into the grid, carbon offset, carbon reduction, et cetera. But obviously you get to claim those benefits from the county's perspective. It can help towards LEED status, things to that effect. Obviously, there's intrinsic value there outside of just the environmental benefits. So we can talk about things we've done for clients and how they market that in the community. So obviously, the environmental benefits, don't understate that. So, we looked at, just for simple numbers, so currently 50% of the annual electricity is for the county's facilities coming from green energy. So these numbers reflect the additional 50% that's currently not getting green energy. It's just standard power or brown power, as we refer to it. So if you wanted to go to 100 or buying another 50%, these are the associated environmental benefits that Will County can claim in the marketplace. So the cost of purchasing renewable energy certificates. The unit cost is, again, they trade as blocks of 1 megawatt hour equals 1 REC. So the unit cost for 1 REC that the county can purchase is 0.00095 cents per kilowatt hour. So just under 1 penny per kilowatt hour for 1 megawatt hour of green energy. And so if you look at the remaining 50% of your energy needs, that comes out to about 8.5 million kilowatt hours annually, or 8,500 RECs is what you would need to purchase in order to get to 100% green, because 8,500 are already purchased with that Constellation agreement. And so we priced these out to start July 2020. So Cal 20 is just reflective of 6 months of time. Cal 21 is obviously all 21, 22, 23. And then Cal 24 is actually just January 1st to July 2024. And the reason why we did that was so everything would co-terminate with the current contract with Constellation. That way there isn't different start dates or end dates in place. And so you can see by just extrapolating out, the question was posed to us, well, what if we wanted, the county just wanted to buy an additional 25% or go to another 50% to get you to 100. The unit cost is the same, so it's just a matter of how much more you want to buy is going to impact that capital outlay. So this would be an additional investment on top of the Constellation contract that's already in place. So effectively, if you wanted to go out to July 2024, starting this July, your investment to do that would cost, to go to 100% green, $32,300 to buy RECs to offset the remaining 50% you're in. And if you wanted to do 25%, just simply cut that in half, you're at 16,150 to get you out to July 2024. So in summary, taking into consideration the natural gas opportunity, in conjunction with this, the net impact on procuring 25% additional green energy, getting the county to 75% total, the net savings for the gas production, and taking into consideration that capital investment for the RECs is a savings of $39,000. And to go to procuring additional 50%, getting you to 100% total, the savings is $22,900. Obviously, these are not mutually exclusive. It was just presented in that fashion, perhaps to help find the funds available to purchase those. Any questions?
I want more comments than questions, but this body already voted, said they wanted 50%. Agreed. I think we need to stay there. We do need to jump on the gas. We just have to decide if it's 1 year or 4 year. I'm thinking the 4 year looks like a good deal. You're saving 8.5% overall. For the 4 years, you're saving $72,000. I think we're in a position, and I think everybody knows my green position. I'm all about green that is financially responsible. We're about to embark on an RNG facility that could bring this county $15 million a year once it's paid off. I think we need to grab the savings we can get on the gas, and then we can use that to help offset the cost of the RNG facility. As far as us buying other credits to be more green at this point, I'm not in favor of spending extra money to do that at this point. We have a big project that we're doing. Let's get that underway, use some of the savings from the gas, and put that against our costs, rather than put it against buying more green credits.
Yes, so I totally disagree with Mike on the not buying the RECs. We do need to buy the RECs. That last slide, if you could bring that up again, you talk about financially, if it's in our financial favor. The net savings on those two entities, it's $39,000 and $22,000, right?
Yeah, so if you wanted to go to 100% green by buying 50% more,
right?
Because you're currently at 50. If you do the natural gas procurement at the same time as that purchase for the RECs,
correct,
your net savings will be $22,900.
So we could move to 100% renewable energy for our county, save $22,934,000, and have lower energy costs going forward. Why would we not take this deal?
You're not understanding the numbers then. Because if we just do the gas and we go out to a 4-year plan, we save $74,000. If we bought the RECs, we're only going to save $22,000.
Which is still a savings and moves us to 100% renewable energy.
But we have a big project that we're doing that's
Which
going
has
to cost
nothing
us
to do with,
well, you're trying to put the gas and the electric
energy
together. I'm trying to put our gas RNG facility as part of the mix, along with our solar. If we have $74,000 in savings over 4 years, that can go to us putting the solar on the plants. With your program, we'd only have $22,000 to use. I'm looking at us getting the most money savings right now, so we can do the other things that we want to do here, like solar and like build the RNG.
It seems to me more like you are blocking the fact that we could move to renewable energies, which would create jobs in our area. It would incentivize.
No. You're not buying it for credits here.
Right. No, I understand it. But the state of Illinois, when we buy these credits, it encourages solar and wind projects here. And we've had IBEW talk to us, we've had ASME talk to us that this would create jobs in Illinois. Yes, it would. And
so, to your point, these would be national RECs.
Okay.
So it's tough to make that direct connection that this purchase would incentivize local development. Now you could get specific and say we want to purchase RECs from projects here in Illinois. I would tell you that the numbers would be more expensive.
Okay.
So these would be these are national RECs, so that it could be a wind farm in Iowa or in Illinois. It could be a solar field in Nevada. It could be the lowest cost solution is what we're going to find.
But we have an opportunity to move towards renewable energy, to be a leader in that, in green and our county being more green and the potential of creating more jobs for the future. To me, and save almost $23,000.
The county isn't going to be more green. We'll be more green when we finish our RNG
Well,
facility.
someone's got to be
and
the
we do
leader,
our
Mike.
solar.
Someone's got to be the leader.
We are leading.
Right.
We are leading
And
by
we can
building
lead
an
this,
RNG facility.
and we don't have to do one or
and
the other, we
doing
can choose
solar.
both.
Not giving
I
money
listened to
to
that.
other states
Okay.
so they can create their own green.
Thank you for talking over me, Mike.
Jackie?
I would disagree also. I think it does create new jobs. The SolSmart Solarized Chicago program was so busy this year, they couldn't, or last year, they couldn't get my solar installed, and I went to one of the first presentations that they had and signed the contract within a few days, and they couldn't get my project installed by the end of the year. And this was a mild winter, so weather wasn't really the issue. It does create jobs. There are more jobs being created, and by the county setting an example, using the marketing techniques, the media that was mentioned by the presenter, I think we're incentivizing people throughout Illinois, and it's definitely nearby, to look at solar. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to go in this direction, since we, if I understood what was presented earlier too, that we had already identified places to find the money for the solar that we're going to put on the roof, so we don't really need the savings from this or the savings from the gas, or, there's money already been identified. Maybe not, I'm not the budget person, but I was listening to the conversation between board member Frizzalone and somebody in the back of the room. So there's been money identified for those projects. I'm all in favor of moving to 100%. Exelon owns Braidwood. They're getting lots of breaks from the state of Illinois. In fact, they're coming out in the news, and some of them may end up in jail. They've gotten some good breaks from the state of Illinois, and I think it's time to move forward. And besides, this is a national thing. The energy isn't necessarily being saved right here in our own community. It's probably not affecting Braidwood in any direct way. I'm 100% in favor of 100%.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, Braidwood is not ComEd. Exelon was split off years ago, but, but I've got 1,000 people in my district who work there. What do I tell them about their
They're not
jobs?
losing their job.
They pay can I finish?
Well, Mike talked over Mike.
Exelon paid $2.9 million in property taxes to this county. $2.9 million. The largest taxpayer in Will County, employing 1,000 people. And like ExxonMobil employs 1,000 people, I know you don't like them either, right? That's in our county. Real estate taxes in our district, Joe, that are being paid. Rachel, these places are not going to pay Will County $2.9 million.
They're not losing their jobs. It's a false narrative, what you're saying. It's false.
You're calling it.
They're not losing their jobs. You're making a fear factor of something that does not exist. This will not make them lose their jobs. Don, it's false.
What are they going to do?
They're going to keep working. They're going to keep working. This is not an attack on the nuclear power plants. Please do not make it one. This is not what this is. Will County's contract is less than 2% of the entire county. On top of that, Braidwood services several states. So to say that this small percent of our savings to move to renewable energy is somehow an attack on Braidwood and they would lose their jobs is absolutely 100% false. And shame on you for using that argument, because you know it's false.
No, it's not false, because if you don't buy any nuclear power, then it's axiomatic that you have to buy it from someplace else.
Plenty of states are buying nuclear power from Braidwood. Plenty of
Okay,
counties.
but we're not going to buy it and support our own.
We are
We're not
still
gonna support our own
buying.
local
That's not
council.
true. Don, that's
We're
not
not
true.
gonna
We are
support our own
buying.
local
Does that mean
constitution.
We still buy power from Braidwood. Do we or do we not? Do our non-procured processes, we buy power?
Thank you.
Can you confirm that we do still buy power? Can you answer? Seriously, Denise, let him answer the question.
It's her turn.
What? You let Mike talk all over him. You
It is
didn't gavel
her
him once,
turn,
Denise.
please.
You didn't gavel him once.
Gloria.
Okay, I think, well, didn't we vote on 50% renewable energy, and isn't that the policy that we have right now? So I think we need to abide by the policy which we have and make our suggestions and our purchases based on the policy we have. And if we still vote or change that policy in the future, then we can work on that. But right now, 100% is not our policy. And I think we need to work on issues or procuring at the best rate so that we can
This is the best
pay
rate.
other things and look at the dollars that we have as a whole pie and make sure that we are doing the best for our residents and their tax dollars. I do not agree with going 100%. I think sometimes, yes, it makes a good soundbite and makes it good, but I think we have to look at the bigger picture and everything that we do. Thank you.
Other questions? Other questions?
Can you have him answer the question about other,
Ms. Ventura, you have a question, go ahead.
can you please confirm that our non-procured energy contracts that we have still buy from Braidwood and the nuclear power plants?
So the way the grid works essentially is the power for the facility here is coming from the closest resource. What you've done with Constellation is you've obligated them to source 50% of the electricity that you guys consume annually from renewable resources into the grid. Constellation could be buying that same idea through these RECs, through a national wind farm in Iowa or West Texas for that matter. So the nuclear power from Braidwood is most likely still coming to the facilities locally. So you can't track the electrons obviously once they're in the grid, but this financially does not have an impact on Braidwood.
And can you also confirm that no one is losing their job if we were to move to 100% energy?
I can't say yes or no on that.
Jackie? And then Jim.
I'd like to think this county is going to continue to move forward and not get stuck anywhere. We're currently offering rebates, grants to municipalities for the install of EV charging stations. Well, that's in direct conflict with Citgo. I don't know how much tax they pay, but they got to pay some. It's got to be in a direct conflict to ExxonMobil. So maybe we should just stop that program. Maybe we should remove all these LED lights that save us money so we can suck up more electricity from Braidwood. And I don't even know why we're talking about solar if all of our concern is about Braidwood. Our job should be about people and our planet, and renewable energy is the right direction to go in. Apparently they're even having trouble offloading gas and oil in Saudi Arabia because they just dumped a whole bunch on the market and lowered the prices we talked about in our earlier meeting this morning. Let's get rid of our green roof. Seriously, if all of our loyalty is to Braidwood and trying to get as much energy directly from Braidwood as we can, we've done everything in this county so far to not do that. And I just think we need to move forward. We need to look forward. We shouldn't stay stuck. Yes, we made a decision to do 50%, but there was a lot of debate at the time and discussion about 100% at that point. And we waited so long, apparently it got more expensive, and we talked about it again, and they said, the spring is the time to rebid or relook at this, and that was why it was brought forward today. There was never any moratorium put on it that said, oh, we said 50% and that's it for life. I mean, that's just, that is agreeable. So I'm still in support, just wanted to add more information.
Jim, followed by Judy.
This county has gone forward with renewable energy in a pretty significant way. There was a decision made when we went through this contract to go 50% renewable. And the plan was we were going to move forward with our own initiatives, which were solar primarily, and look at some other. And I know that some of you were not happy with that. You wanted to be 100% renewable. So now you want to reopen what we decided, in my opinion. And I think when you go on and on about our nuclear power plant, it's a little bit of an overstatement, maybe on both sides. I think we should stay the course. We had a plan. You want to change the plan because you didn't like what the board decided, perhaps some of you. And the plan was, and we were going to 50% renewable. I don't think the fact that, and we talked about renewables and clean energy. You just don't like, some people don't like clean energy, only renewable energy. But there is clean energy too, which is natural gas and nuclear primarily. both our well, nuclear is clean. There's other environmental things, so in my opinion, don't make it very clean. And gas is relatively clean, even though it's not renewable. So when you look at the fact that we're looking at clean energies, renewable energies, for example, when we start our gas plant, that will be clean energy. It's not, I guess it's a form of renewable energy as long as the garbage keeps decomposing, and creating methane. But, you know, let's stay the course. We had a plan. The plan was that we were going to stay 50%. We were going to go look at our own initiatives with solar, and we have looked at what's the stuff that comes out of the ground? Thermal. Yeah, we've looked at that. For those of you who don't know, we have looked at that also. You probably never heard it because most of that discussion was done years ago at the Public Building Commission. So let's see what our plan. Let's stay with our plan. This is nothing more than an attempt to change the plan that maybe someone just didn't care for. So that's it.
Other questions? Or comments? Oh, Mike.
So I just think we need to move forward on this gas deal because we can save $72,000 if we do a 4-year plan. And Mike's still going to check into why we don't have our other buildings on the Constellation, and then we can make a determination that we go on the solar. So I do think we need to move forward, though, on saving the gas. Regardless of what else we do, that saves us up to $72,000 over that 4-year period.
Rachel?
I would ask that this board consider moving both of these contracts forward to the full county board to vote. And give the ability to the full county board to make a decision what they decide is best, what savings is best for this county, and what direction this county would like to go in. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Steve?
I just have a question. I'm hearing Mike say that we're going to get 72,000, and Rachel's saying we'll get 22,000. So that's like $50,000 better if you do what Mike said. So I'm not a genius on this stuff, but I got solar panels because I figured it out that it was worthwhile, so I did it. And I wasn't real happy because I got them in November and I was paying more than everybody else in my neighborhood. Until this month I saw my bill.
Me too.
And now this month I got about 25% less. But regardless of that, you know, I believe in the solar energy is a good deal, otherwise I wouldn't have got it. But when you're going to save $50,000, you know, that's the difference. So why wouldn't we take the $50,000? We need it to expand these other programs. You know, so, you know, I'd be a definite no on changing our policy. Keep everything the same way it is.
Thank you. Jim?
Well, the only other thing I wanted to say is buying rents, and I'm not so sure how many governmental units, how much government, local government buys rents. They're issued by the federal government to incentivize renewable energy. But I don't know, you know, buying rents doesn't make us clean. It does not. It makes somebody else clean. It puts more clean energy on the grid, but it doesn't mean that comes locally. So, you know, buying rents is this, you know, if you think that that's making our county clean energy, it is not. It's smoke and mirrors, and I don't think we should be buying rents. We should be doing initiatives that actually make Will County clean and renewable energy. And buying rents is just a feel-good thing as far as I'm concerned. For the county, as far as the county goes, being actually renewable. All it does is put more renewable energy and go anywhere, including the Canada. So, you know, so having said that, I'm going to make a motion. If I may. I'll make a motion moving forward with the natural gas first. So I'll do that.
So you're making motion and second. So your motion is, excuse me, clarify the motion, please. stated in full.
To move forward with the natural gas initiative, and I would do the 4 years for 48 months.
I know that in the past, it's been our understanding that the county can only lock at 3 years at a time. Does that change and you can do 4 years?
I think it's 4, as long as we don't go beyond other.
You can do 4.
Okay.
You can do 4.
Okay.
Okay, so 48 months.
Okay.
So the motion then is to move forward with the natural gas portion for the next 4 years at the rate stated. And you second. All those in
I'd
favor?
like to make an amendment to include the buying of the rent. And include the electric.
I think you guys mean RECs.
Rex.
Rex, I said Rex.
Those are natural gas oriented, RECs are electric.
Rex.
Just so you know.
At 100%.
The motion now stands,
The amendment.
the amendment rather, so we're voting on the amendment separately. First of all, the amendment is to include the Rex at 100%.
I'll second.
And then we have a second. So for the amendment by itself, the Rex at 100%, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, let's do that. We'll do the roll call.
Brooks,
Yes.
Rosalone,
No.
Gould,
No.
Harris,
Yes.
Eustace,
No.
Ogalla. No. Rainier,
Yes.
Van Dyne,
Yes.
and Winfrey.
No.
I guess 4 affirmative, 5 negative.
So then to the original motion, which was to go forward with the natural gas. There was a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, let's do the roll.
Brooks,
Yes.
Rosalone,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Markham, Eustace,
Yes.
Ogalla. Yes. Rainier,
Yes.
Van Dyne,
Yes.
and Winfrey.
Yes. So that goes forward to the full board.
Are we all finished then?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you, team, and Mike. Okay, next up, this is still you. Authorizing county executive to execute a professional services contract with SCS Energy for the Prairie View landfill gas upgrading EPC system build.
What? You're up. It's you.
SCS.
Oh,
Yes.
well, okay,
Do you-
I can't really give you much because the state's attorney's office, they've had it for about a week or so, and I've heard nothing back. I know they're going through a huge IT thing, but I've sent numerous emails trying to make sure I got some feedback, but I have no feedback
Are you
as
saying
of right now.
Dean, are you saying that we are not ready to move this forward to the county executive's office?
I don't know, I mean, Phil's here.
I would move it forward. We'll get it reviewed before the county board meeting.
Thank you, Phil. Okay,
Who's second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, authorizing grant funds in the Health Department 2020 budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Appropriating grant funds in the Veterans Assistance Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Transferring appropriations within various county budgets. This is our annual. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Authorizing county executive to execute necessary documents for delinquent taxes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Authorizing county executive, that's a repeat, amend the county code ordinances Chapter 110, alcoholic beverages. This is the Guzman property. They did comply with all the requests for land use. So this is to question.
I'm on land use, but I think I was late to the meeting because legislative went longer. And I would really appreciate just a little bit more explanation. This is an ag license that they're getting? Is that right?
Like egg for our,
like recreation?
recreation,
Yes,
agriculture. Yes.
That, I guess that's all I really needed to confirm.
Okay.
Because we don't have any licenses available, ever. So
Right.
this is always
So
like
this
a big thing.
Right, so this will be granting the license for that. And they were, right, so it was approved in January, and they have met all the conditions set forth by land use. And so we're asking to grant the license. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, we don't have a motion and a second, sorry.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Awarding bid for the data center.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Awarding bid for emergency systems upgrades for the health center.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Authorizing county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Waitsville Fire Protection.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? County executive executed an intergovernmental agreement with Salina Township Fire Protection.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Authorizing an operating agreement with Quest Foods for, this will be for the courthouse.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, the next four all go together. This is on the FF&E, that's furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the courthouse. So we have a contract with Interior Investments.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have Midwest Office Interior.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Put down as an abstention on that, please.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. And then we have Interior for Businesses.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the last one being Bradford Systems.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Then we have an additional item, contract to Clerk for executive and jury seating. This needed to be separate from the others. We want to add that so that we can take that to the full board next.
What is that? What is that?
Clerk Incorporated, that's for executives, basically the judges,
Oh.
and jury seating,
Oh.
and we need to add that on to it.
Okay.
Right, so we're going to put forward for next week.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Ray had brought up last week about discussion of setting salaries for elected officials, so we'll leave that on for discussion if someone has something now. When he had talked to me, just a minute, Ken, when he had talked with me, his interest would be in getting an outside firm to look at it overall, rather than just us getting reviews from Collier counties. So, Ken, you had something to add to that?
Yes, I recently went to our village board meeting and spoke on behalf of salary for elected officials, in particular the mayor's salary and the proposal they have in front of us. My comment was more in line with the expectations of elected officials. Regardless of the salary, we're still expected to perform certain duties, show up for meetings, represent the county, and be there for your constituents. Those expectations will remain the same regardless of the salary. But sometimes the salary is needed. I mean, we treat these jobs as full-time job. We should always treat them full-time job, whether we get the salary or not. But the salary for most of these jobs haven't been increased. I think about 15 years, it's about 2008. The sheriff, for instance, their current salary is $110,000. A lieutenant makes about $130,000. The average salary for the other Collier County is $152,000. So had he been the sheriff's position, for instance, and given a raise, let's say 2% over the years, it'd be about $145 or $150. So at the minimum, I think the sheriff's salary should be at least 145. I mean, the population is increasing, infrastructure is increasing, more responsibility is coming upon the sheriff, and they are our top cop. The circuit clerk making 93, the average for the other counties 122. The county clerks 93, the average is 114,000. As far as the county board, I mean, I think our speaker, Jim probably can attest to that, they have a lot of responsibility that they do and should do. They need to represent our county. They need to run for NACO board. They need to be our leader. And same as our majority and minorities. So a salary for a speaker should at least 35,000, and 20% more than the county board members. So the minority and majority leader should at least 30,000. So it's just some of the numbers I put together, and I think it should be a starting point. It's just some of the elected officials and some of the duties that they perform. So that's all I have.
Thank you. And this is just down for discussion, coming right to you, Jim. So, and I know that Ray wasn't able to be here today, but he wanted to talk further on it as well. Jim?
I'm not in favor of increases, and I say that knowing that there's not been increases for a number of years. But some of the elected officials are doing those positions, countywide elected. They knew what the salaries were. I mean, when you say, well, they haven't got, well, should we give the person who's there now the money the guy didn't get down from down the road? No, I don't think so. So when you look at increases of 20, 25, 30% for elected officials, I think it's totally out of line. And as far as the county board goes, let me say this. The state of Illinois passed legislation saying that you don't even work part-time. So, and I believe the majority of county board members then, many who are here now, didn't want to fill it out, their hours. They weren't going to allow new county board members ever to participate, saying you don't work 20 hours a week or 15 hours a week. So, based on that, how do you say county board members should get more money? Now I agree, the speaker and the minority and majority leader, they put a lot more time in. I can tell you that when I was speaker for many years, it was a full-time job. But let me also say, those boards, even though it came up, felt that, when I was speaker, that I should have got one more dime than anybody else. And it was my decision. It was me. You willingly took on this job, knowing you wasn't going to get paid. That was kind of the attitude, and it was really the attitude of the Democratic side of the aisle. The speaker gets $1,000 kind of stipend now. I could see increasing it maybe up to $3,000, $4,000, even up to $5,000. And the majority leaders stay at the $1,000, but not much more than that. So that's kind of my view. And the view is that when you're on a county board, you know this isn't your full-time job. And when you want to come on, like it's a full-time job where you're paid, it's not. And almost everybody works other jobs. And in some cases, I always felt this is kind of filled in for what I was going to lose on my private side. That's how I always looked at it. In some cases, I think I was more minus than I was over the years. So I don't support. You want to talk about maybe 2.5%, 3% pay increases? Maybe I'm open to it. But when you start talking, you want to do 20, 30%? No way. No way. And I'll tell you, the public would tell you no way, and your constituency would tell you no way. And you see this pending legislation to say these are countywide elected officials, many who get stipends from the state of Illinois now have to be listed on the, it hasn't passed, but they want to say it has to be listed on. So when you talk about the sheriff's getting stipends, I think the clerk gets stipends, the circuit clerk gets stipends, the auditor gets a stipend. I don't know how much they are. Some are, I think, pretty significant, but include those also. And if you don't want to work for whatever the sheriff gets, 105 or 110, don't run. You don't want $23,000 as a county board member? Don't run. That's what it pays. You want to increase the pool of people who can run? Then you increase the salaries. Because it does limit who can run, I think. But that, so you have the soapbox now, or?
Jackie.
Let me get on.
Yeah, Jackie, Mimi's in.
I don't agree with the former speaker. I just saw that in our earlier meeting with the Forest Preserve that we gave raises to those people on the police, and we bumped them up, even people that were brand new to the position, because they had unionized. The salary should be set objectively based on the work, and if it wasn't my will to call in a consultant or a contractor to, pay them to figure out what our salary should be. But I'm going to be in favor of that because I think somebody objective needs to look at this, not us. So that would be my thought about the whole thing. And I'll stick with what I said before, that once we do look at this and we make a determination this time around, there should be some cost of living raises built into this so that people don't have to keep revisiting. Because, maybe, Jim, when you first took office, this salary could have been looked at 30 years ago as a replacement for your time off. But 30 years have gone by and lots of people have gotten raises over those 30 years. And this salary has not kept up with that. And so therefore, you're not being compensated for the time you would have spent on your other job.
Let me point out, 30 years ago, these countywide officials were making $40,000 a year, $38,000 a year. Their salary was more than doubled. They were accelerating.
I can tell you in my last job, from the day that I started there till the day that I ended, my salary went up 800%, and I was there for 22 years. So, doing one different job from my initial job to my next job. And, so there's a lot of things to look at. And as far as the state of Illinois and Springfield, we all know how most people feel about Springfield in this room. And I'm not going to say anything derogatory or be sarcastic as you were. But I will say there are 102 counties in this state. They all compensate their board members at different rates. So to say that, maybe somebody that works in Putnam County only works part-time, I would agree with that. I don't believe that that's the case in Will County any longer, and I don't think that will be the case going forward.
Mimi?
I appreciate Mr. Mustis's point that it's always been done a certain way and he'd like to continue doing it the way it's always been done. But I think we have to look at the changing nature of the county as well. The county is different than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And Jim, I would say that the last point you made, while you were kind of laughing about it, is the most pertinent to me. That if we want to expand the pool of who's interested in running for these positions, sure, then we raise the salary. And that right now there's a lot of people, myself included, who struggle to find work that they can fit around this schedule. The vast majority of jobs I could get, barring waitressing, frankly, would disallow me from being on this board. And to that end, but you're right, it doesn't take up 40 hours a week, and I understand that. I would be very interested in looking at, frankly, making the board smaller. And I have yet at any of these conferences to find any county that has as many or more county commissioners as we do. I would be very interested in looking at making the board smaller and therefore increasing our workload that would justify an increased salary. And I say that knowing that if we just cut it in half, that Julie would probably beat me and I'd be off this board. And that would be the Democratic majority. So I'd be very interested in looking at narrowing the size, increasing the salary so that someone could actually do it as a job. Because otherwise there's
it's pretty limited who can do this. It's limited to people who are retired or have someone else supporting them, and that's not representative of our community.
We don't get the best candidates.
I agree with you, and I talked about this about the pool, and I did kind of chuckle when I said that, but I meant it seriously.
Okay.
But don't you think that should be decided before you set the salary?
Yep.
I mean, you have to decide, as far as the county board goes, you'd have to decide the size of the county board
That's what I'm saying.
prior to
We
setting
have,
the salary.
we have a perfect opportunity coming up because we're coming up to the census and that means redistricting.
So you could
Okay.
go right out of it.
Herbie will redistrict.
First of all, Mimi, if you reduce the board, that means Denise will win and I will lose. Because I would have to vote for her.
You could go in different districts, you know?
But I do want to say that as a former speaker in 2012, I was an advocate of reviewing all of the salaries at that time. Knowing well, had we passed the increase in salary, as a speaker, it would not affect me anyway. It would affect the next person that came after me, which would have had to been Mr. Meese. So I was looking out for you. But the second thing is, this opportunity doesn't come around very often. And I think there needs to be some discussion when it is upon us again, and it is at our threshold. And then thirdly, we may not all agree on 20%, but I think there ought to be some discussion of some kind of increase and reviewing all of countywide as well as county board. Denise and Jim and I both know that being a speaker and or any leadership takes up a whole lot of your time. I don't know how many of you all, I got phone calls since you've been sitting here, and I've had to step out of the room to attend some other business. And I should have been at lunch by now. But it does require a lot of our time, and I think the countywide people work very hard for their money. They have a tough job to do, and there ought to be a time for an increase. And I think everybody on the county board, there should be an increase. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Judy's next.
So I just want to say I agree with Mimi in this respect. Over the last 30 years, you're right, the county has changed. And in that, many of the duties and roles have almost decreased because responsibility in each different legislative county board district, the amount of unincorporated areas continue to shrink. So there are some representatives on this board that do not have much unincorporated at all, and others who still have a significant amount of area that is unincorporated. So you have to balance that out. So I think for my area, I get calls all the time, and I think somebody who lives in a more incorporated area, you get less calls because you're not dealing with the same issues that I have. So it's impossible to actually pay somebody like that. I mean, Joe's area is big, which is Don's. Jim had a lot. So, I mean, those variables come in as well. And we have to remember one respect as well. We are a public servant. The public servant, the taxpayers paying our salaries. The people who we employ, our staff, they're here, they're full-time, they do the jobs, I call them up, and everyone calls them up. I rely on them all the time to answer my questions. So it isn't as simple and easy as just saying, oh, it's changed over 30 years, because it has, but, you know, it's gone more to the municipalities. So our jurisdiction shrinks a bit more, right? It shrinks a bit more. So we have to keep that in mind, because whatever decision is made, that is always passed on to our taxpayers, and they continue to have more of the burden. And we hear it all the time. Illinois is one of the highest taxing states in the state of Illinois. And I think we need to make sure that we don't compensate.
Okay, we have Julie, Steve, then Don.
So, as far as salary goes, we all did a lot of work to get elected to represent our constituents, and we did it knowing the salary. So I'm not really comfortable about increasing it. I also would like to spend more time talking about whether or not we should decrease the board, because I find value in working with the group as a whole. I don't know if there would be a great benefit to reduce the size of the board in half. we all bring knowledge and experience, and, you know, even if a district doesn't have a lot of unincorporated, I find that there is so much of an impact, not only on the county side, but the municipality, and it is related. And so you find that you're engaged in both in order to represent your constituents on the county board. And it is a job, if you do it right, that takes a lot of time, and possibly full-time if you really are devoted to it. So I guess in summary, I don't expect any more, and I'm not asking for any more. And I enjoy working with the size of the board we have now. I think if you eliminate half the board, double the salary, there could be some disadvantages to that. So I think we would need to really have a thorough discussion about that. Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that if you were in some of these counties that have one county board member, a good number of them have chief of staffs and secretaries and other people. Well, in our county, Mike's my secretary and I'm his chief of staff. You know, so I mean, we're working together. Now, not only that, I get calls from people all over the county because once we're elected, we're at large for the whole county. So in a given week, I might get 2 or 3 calls that I have to even move forward to with land use or with the forest preserve or a different unit of government, you know, one of our committees. But they're not in my district even. And you wouldn't believe the number of calls I get in my district. You know, I mean, my district is mostly cities. So there's a tiny part that's unincorporated, yet I get a lot of calls. I had 3 calls yesterday, the day before yesterday, about what Lauren talked about. And I got a hold of Lauren, and we talked, and we got it straightened out, and I got the people all straightened out. But if there was only one, what happens if I'm sick? Who's going to help? If I'm in the hospital, you know, we're all old. You know, not everybody, but you know, I mean, we can all get this coronavirus deal and end up in the hospital. Who's going to help the people in your district? Having 2 people is just a redundancy that benefits the citizens. So I don't think that we should cut it down to 1. And I also look at it like I do a lot, but I don't want a raise. I'll vote no to a raise because I don't want one. I think that we're public servants and we should be doing this because we want to serve the people, not because we're looking to get equalized for the time we're putting in. If you're looking to make money, go get a different job. You'll make money. This job is a job that you're getting some money to help you out over with the gas you're using and all the rest of the time and whatever. But you know, we don't have to get rich on it. So, and believe me, I don't write my hours down, but I'm at least 25 to 30 hours a week doing something.
Just a little history. Prior to 1972, we had a 45-member county board.
Whoa.
And that's when we had a county population of 280. And we were the Will County Board of Supervisors, and there were 24 township supervisors who all served on the board. And there were 21 assistant supervisors who were from the larger townships like Joliet and Lockport back then. But so it was decreased in 72 to 27 members. And then we went to 26 members in 10 years ago. But to Judy's point, and I mean, I've been at this for a while, there are large county boards in Illinois. Some are almost as large as us, and they're much smaller counties. But if you represent an area that has a lot of unincorporated, I think your duties and your job is a lot different, really, than the people who represent the more urban areas. Not to your point, not that you don't go to the municipalities, right? Because you do, we all do. But in incorporated, you're dealing with a different question because with unincorporated, county government is their closest government to the people. You know? So there is an argument, at least in the unincorporated areas, for a larger size board, I think, than a smaller size board.
Jim?
You know, I want to point out about the unincorporated areas. I have a lot of unincorporated areas, and if you look at your land use cases, probably half of them are in my district. So there is different responsibilities, and I do think having more than one in a district helps balance some of that workload and knowledge, I might add, of the district. The other thing I wanted to point out is that when we looked at the executive form of government, a lot of the responsibility of the county board went to the executive branch. So it should also understand that our workload or our responsibility was lessened when we went to the executive form of government. Along with that, the budget also went with the executive side of the county because they needed to be funded to do the activities that once the county board did. So all the administrative functions of the county board were left. They went over to the executive, and that was 1988. You know, I might also point out when I came out to the board, our salaries were $13,000 a year. And at that time, you know, I probably pushed to have them raised. It was I felt it was too low. And we had an automatic $500 a year increase a number of years ago. I'm not going to point any fingers, but, you know, people wanted to do away with everything. So that's what happened. I mean, I think to put an escalator in, you know, say like $500 a year, could be appropriate, $250 a year, and that keeps you up a little bit, some of the costs that may be involved with being a county board member. So I can be open to like that automatic increase of $500 a year. Not, you know, so the first buck would be $500, and then there going forward, I could maybe be supportive of a proposal similar to that, and I think maybe the majority of the board could be open to that. But I did want to point out, and Judy pointed out, let's take the sheriff, you know, as far as patrol goes, their area keeps shrinking. The responsibility, but
What portion, Jeff?
let me finish. You know, you'll feel better when I'm finished. Okay? So the unincorporated area is continuing to over time shrink. You know, you lost a whole township when Homer Glen Incorporated, just about a whole township. Even though you patrol that, you pay for that. That's a separate contract. I think what we have today is probably pretty much where it's going to be. But the big additional responsibility for the sheriff is in corrections. And that's going to continue to grow in population. That's a lot of responsibility. And along with the responsibility of the courthouse. So some of the responsibilities have shifted. That's why over time our land use department has shrunk because it's more incorporated in our community. But anyway, and it's not like I'm not open to some reasonable, but you can't be talking 20, 30%.
Okay. Just a reminder to people, this is just not here for discussion. We're not making a decision today. It will appear on the executive agenda going forward so we get to some sort of resolution. Herb is next, and then Julie.
Once again, the opportunity only comes around not very often for discussion, and that's what we're doing. All of us, when we leave this building this afternoon, hope soon, we don't take off our hat as a county board member. My office in an unincorporated area of Joliet called Preston Heights. They have a lot of issues out there with water, etc. When my car pulls up there, I'm there at 10 o'clock at night. People coming by there, Jim Harvey, let me borrow your car so they won't know I'm there. But I don't stop being a county board member. Nor am I asking compensation when I leave here. However, our job don't stop, and there need to be some discussion about the salaries while we have an opportunity. Thank you.
Julie.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that my comments regarding salaries only related to county board, not to anybody else. So I just didn't want to be misunderstood in that respect. Also, you know, our county, the population is increasing, so everyone is saying we're growing. So that's another thing. If we were shrinking, that might be something we need to consider. But I also want to mention that our district, Mimi's district, and my district, I think we're kind of unique because we're seeing we have a lot of unincorporated, and we have a lot of growth and development in Naperville, and our unincorporated areas are experiencing a lot of issues. So Mimi and I are getting a lot of calls about a lot of different issues, and she and I get the pleasure of bumping into each other and seeing each other a lot in the evening at a lot of Naperville meetings. So we have a lot going on, and I think that that's another reason why I think that having more people rather than fewer, you've got additional resources and people to work together. So that's just one perspective that I have. Thank you.
Okay, we could wrap up with Jackie. I just want to comment on the size of the board. I definitely think it should be smaller. All of our responsibilities, for the most part, with our constituents are at night. So I'm having 2 people. I don't know that that makes that much difference because, you know, there's the events there are in your community and you go to them. But the other thing I wanted to add was chairmanships. You know, we're talking about paying the speaker more and the leader more. Maybe we should consider paying everybody more that chairs a committee. Because I, for one, can tell you when I didn't chair a committee, I didn't work as hard as other people on the board. So if we're talking about workload, I think if you're chairing a committee, you have extra responsibilities.
But it only benefits the majority.
Well, it only benefits the
That's the argument I got here, so it only benefits.
Well, I never gave that argument to you, Jim, and I think that argument is a lot of hoo-hockey. And I think it's important to open this up more to more and more candidates, not make it a smaller and smaller pool of potential candidates. And I think that pay and responsibilities are tied into that.
So let's move all our
So
meetings
clearly, we have a lot of interest in this issue, not only for county board members, but for the county-wides as well. So it will continue to be on the agenda for discussion because, as Mr. Brooks said, we have a limited time when we can actually look at this. So it will be going forward. We have next up replacement hires for Sunny Hill Nursing Home.
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have a number of proclamations this month, Mike. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we have, I think, 7. As we Lake Way East cheerleading team, check presentation to National Hope of Black Women, we got a check presentation to Exec Peanut Foundation, check presentation to Redeemed National Ministries, check presentation to, well, we get a lot of money, to Will Grundy Medical Clinic, check presentation to Forest Park Community Center, Bad News Baseball, and then we'll be recognizing the 50th anniversary of Earth Day and recognizing the 2020 National Fair Housing Month. So we have, some of them will be from the seat, so we'll go to wow.
Yeah, okay. And then appointments by the county executive, we have just the one, and it's one. Did you have a question, Steve?
I have a question, just
Okay, let me
clarification.
finish this then. We have just a minute. We have this one that we will bring forward, we had tabled it before, so we'll be taking that forward with the new name that has been submitted.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen that. So,
We have.
oh, you got it now?
Mhm.
Okay, so,
That's what mine was. Annette showed me in the appointments that she just showed me before she left, that the wrong name was there.
Right, but we have the correction.
That's all I was.
so do we need
Just
to
have to take a look.
untable this? And then-
Yeah.
Let's
So
untable it.
I'll make a motion to take it off the table.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Make a motion to move this forward with the new name.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay. And let's see here, we have no other new business that I'm aware of. If we do, save it for next time. We have no requests to State's Attorney. So motion, yes, thank you.
Second.
As amended.
Wait, as
There's a board agenda already?
as amended.
As amended.
And we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public comments? Public comments, third time, public comments, done. Okay, I have no reports or announcements. We do not need an executive session, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, we've already approved the agenda. So, motion for adjournment?
Move. Second. Aye.
Adjourned, thank you.
Here's what I would support.